special episode of Strength Her by CXO Pulse, where we delve into the remarkable journeys of inspiring women who embody resilience, determination, and the unwavering spirit to thrive against all odds. And in today's episode, we're going to delve into yet another story, which, of course, is as inspiring and wonderful as it gets. Today, we uncover the extraordinary story of Banali Luthra Malhotra, a force to be reckoned with in the corporate world. As we uncover the layers of Banali's story, which of course is a tale of grit, triumph, and an unwavering pursuit of excellence, we will of course stand at a beautiful spot to get inspired and soak in all the insights that she has in store for us. So let's all get ready to shine the spotlight on Banali, who's a true exemplar of strength and empowerment. Thank you very much, Banali, for joining us today and doing this with us.
Thank you, Kanchi. That was a really generous introduction. Not sure if worthy of it, but thank you nevertheless. It's my pleasure to be here. And I'm delighted that we're going to spend the next half hour together.
Thank you, and I'm delighted too. So, Banali, your life story is incredibly inspiring, filled with challenges and triumphs. How do you think that your, upbringing and family dynamics have shaped the person that you are?
I think for starters, I grew up, and I'm lucky and privileged to have grown up in a family where there was no distinction between gender. I was treated pretty much like my two elder brothers. And in fact, I think growing up, I was pretty much the tomboy in the family as well. So I think the commitment to our upbringing, our education, the exposure, the experiences, the adventures, our parents didn't do any differentiation. So I think we got a lot of focus, and we're lucky that I'm lucky that I grew up in an environment where there was no distinction between either of them. I think we were all backed as siblings equally. If the only incident that I can recall where there could have been a little difference was the curfew time to come back home when we were growing up. I think mine was a little earlier than the boys. Purely, I think now that I understand it and I have girls of my own, it was only for a safety reason that my parents didn't go to sleep till I came back home. I think with the boys, I think they stayed awake, but with one eye open and one eye shut. But that was the only difference. But otherwise, in terms of exposure to or to play games or to travel or to study further, I think the exposure, experience, and the backing was equally driven. My mom has 5 sisters, so she was a strong believer of giving equal opportunity to the girls and the boys. So I think that environment as such helped me think that there was no difference between the genders that people seem to talk about. I don't see any difference. I think if anybody who's given the opportunity, who's committed, who's passionate about what they want to get to, they get to. I think gender is just incidental. So I think that's what my thinking has been. That's the environment I grew up in, and that's what I take forward to everywhere I go. That's what we follow in my family, in my household, and that's my thinking always. So I think it starts from your upbringing, and that's how my in-laws family thinks. So I think it's all stems with a little bit with what you're exposed to, and if it's the right exposure, then you're all set in the beginning.
Absolutely, and to begin as equals is something fascinating and brilliant. Thank you, Banali. Let's go forward to the next question. We've seen that you've demonstrated remarkable resilience in overcoming health challenges while balancing a demanding career and, of course, family life as well. Could you share how these experiences have influenced your perspective on success and happiness?
So yes, at the pretty young age of 28, I think I got diagnosed with full-blown rheumatoid arthritis, which is a fairly crippling disease. And this was just post my delivering my first baby. And the thing is that I was trying to juggle a lot. I know when I can now look back and say that I was at a highly stressed time in my life, because I was trying not to let office know that I'm pregnant so that I don't impact work. It doesn't impact my promotion. I was trying to do what everybody wants to do, be there for my baby, be there for the family, be there for work, be ready to travel, just do everything physically possible.
Right.
But unfortunately, your body is not geared for that. And that's then I realized I paid the price with it, because I sort of had a full-blown inflammation in my body, with 29 joints got inflamed because I didn't rest after my pregnancy at all. I had a very difficult pregnancy, and I'd taken a lot of time off before the baby came out. And then that's why I was in a hurry to get back to work. I didn't prioritize my health at all. You're young, and you think you can bounce back, you can do this, travel. But my body collapsed. Actually, my body sort of literally gave up on me at the age of 29. I couldn't get out of bed for over 2.5 months. I had no idea what the hell happened to me, really. I hadn't even heard of, I thought arthritis was for older people, fatter people, whatever else. I wouldn't even dream what had happened to me. I didn't even know how to spell rheumatoid, forget anything else, when I got diagnosed with it. And then I realized, because I didn't listen to my body, I didn't prioritize my body, I took on the stress, kept taking till it collapsed. So if you don't listen to your body, make sure you listen to it, right? So it's as cliched as it is, it's exactly what happened to me. And that's why I feel that if we do everything that we do, I'm saying you must prioritize and take what what you're physically able to deal with as well. Don't take out more. There's no need to be a superwoman. Take the help that you need. There's no point to prove, because the repercussions and the payback of ill health takes forever. So there's no turning back the clock on that. I mean, I still suffer from RA. I'm a chronic patient of it. I'm doing much better over the years. I've maintained, and I know, but I've had my shares of really, really bad days. It's a disease that doesn't go away, and it's stress related. It gets aggravated every time there's something happening, with me, and I'm not prioritizing my health. So my only point is that it's something I've learned to deal with. Had I had the foresight earlier, I may have, slowed down one thing over the other and prioritized it, or synchronized it, or scheduled it in a manner where I wasn't juggling with all of it all at the same time, and then perhaps that led to my collapse. So I would just tell people that I think there is a right time and right place to prioritize the right thing. So just be aware of that. There is no race. We're in no race. There's no hurry. Give what is needed, the due focus at the right time, and then prioritize the next and the things. It's not like you need to prove anything to anybody. I had a baby which was premature. I had a lot of stress going on at that time. The health gave up. The baby wasn't doing well, and then work seemed so pointless at that point, but because you sort of prioritized work and tried to do everything else. And these were two very difficult situations that I found myself in, with a premature baby, as well as a health condition which I'm dealing with. Touch wood, I managed to come out of it. My daughter is doing wonderfully well, so there's no this thing, but it was a very stressful period in our lives. But luckily for me, I think my partner understood. He sort of helped very much so with the bringing up of our daughter, my families, my in-laws. Everybody pitched in to ensure that we prioritize the health and the child, and then the work as well happened. Didn't get didn't fall back or anything, which was only in my head, I think, at that point. But it all worked out. But I had to pay the price for it, I have to say.
Of course. And battling so much, juggling all the different things and the roles that you play really takes a toll on, you as a woman, whether it's physically, whether it's mentally. So yes, like you rightly pointed out, prioritizing the right things at the right time is really important. And that's what we need to do. Brilliant insights there, Banali. Let's come to the work bit a little bit. Your journey from a well-established career with American Express to taking on a challenge of building the brand of Rock Bank in Dubai is, again, admirable and fascinating. What motivated you to make such a significant transition, and what lessons have you learned along the way?
So I have to say that I came to the Middle East kicking and storming. I wasn't in favor of it. It's been close to 19 years now. You'll have to drag me out. So my stance completely changed. But at that point, when I was with American Express, I was with them for good over a decade. it's such a fantastic organization, and it's such a great training ground. I think the exposure and the experience and the learning that I got from American Express, being such a big global brand, it was completely priceless. And when I came to the Middle East, I felt that the easiest thing for me to do is find another multinational, get onto it, and do more of the same. But
Right.
when an opportunity came with Rack Bank, which is a completely unknown brand at the time, which is a small boutique bank, but the opportunity came to create something. And with all this experience that I had, I can never ever put my hand in my heart and say I built the brand Amex. Completely not, right? But here was an opportunity that I could take on with all the experience. So that's the challenge that I took on, and saying, okay, let's see what we can do with this brand. We created the Challenger brand, and that can pretty much be my baby. That legacy no one can take away from me, because it didn't exist. And so with all the learning experience on how to build a brand and how to do all of it, and in a cluttered environment, as in the Middle East there were like some 42 banks, I took on this job. I have to say it was a fantastic experience that I got. I got the exposure, I got the experience. I managed to create a brand which punches way above its weight. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity that I got to create something which I can call my baby, and I've passed on that back now. But the learning that I got was solid from my training and my work experience with American Express, which I'm also very, very grateful to. So they're both very different brands. One is a premium brand, and Rackback at that point was a mass brand that we created, and now it's moved into different spaces and different segments, and all of that has grown. But it was something that I learned and then managed to imbibe, improve, and then create and then own as well. So it wasn't easy, because it's a very, very the market was new for me. It was different. So there was a lot of test and turn. There was a lot of pushing the envelope from a safer zone to a little risky space at times. But I think we delivered what the vision was, to create a mark, to create a brand which has to be reckoned with. And I'm really grateful for that.
Absolutely is. You just said what I was going to say, that over the years Rock Bank has become a brand to be reckoned with, not just in the UAE but outside as well. And being instrumental in building something like that has its own share of experiences, and I'm sure how close to your heart this must be.
Yeah, it was like a startup bank, right? At that point, it's like a startup. Everybody's talking about startups. We didn't think of it that time. And then I look back and think, yeah, I was a startup. Literally,
Right.
the bank was growing, the brand didn't exist. So, I sort of developed to make it bigger than it is. And it's been a wonderful ride. Yes.
Absolutely. Well, Banali, you've mentioned the importance of having a supportive spouse and a family, in your articulation to the questions we asked before. How do you maintain a balance between professional commitments and personal life, especially when such demanding roles is what you play at both fronts?
Yes, no. So Kanchi, I'm not going to sugarcoat it and saying it's very easy. You gotta get organized. It's challenging, because I think both my spouse's job and mine were very demanding at that time. The children were young; they were demanding. The work pressure was demanding. The environment was demanding. The networking opportunities were plenty. The social engagements, the family requirements. It was all at the same time. But I think what is very important is the understanding between you and your partner to
Mm.
firstly respect each other's work. So there's nobody's job is bigger than the other, no matter what bread that brings in. It's equally understood, and if you find a partner who appreciates what you bring to the table as well. So I think that's number one, and you both respect each other's requirements of work and of everything else as well. So I think being married to somebody who I've grown up with, I think that understanding was very very well established from the very beginning. And then we were each other's biggest critiques as well as biggest support as well. But we did have to synchronize calendars to make sure that one of us was available for the kids at any given point of time, or for the families. It didn't have to always be me. He would synchronize his calendar not to travel when I was traveling, and vice versa. And I think we didn't do any gender specific roles in our family. We co-parent. There are no specific things that mom does or dad does. There isn't any. We play good cop, bad cop, depending on what the requirement is, or with the parents or anything. So we co-parent, we co-host, we co-everything. I think gender doesn't really play a big role in any of that. So in our household also, my spouse Raghu is far more into the house and the colors and the schemes and everything. So which is his passion, and I'm like, yeah, go for it. That's this thing. I'm probably the most social person with I try and create our social, our holidays and all of that. That's probably my forte. So we recognize each other's strength and then don't interfere in that space. That creates harmony and keeps it at bay. And there's no specific gender this thing. And I'll give you an incident that happened with my just to say that with my younger daughter when she was born 8 years later. I wasn't again doing very well. I don't think I've had great pregnancies. However, my younger daughter developed jaundice, which most kids do get. But my physical condition after delivering wasn't the brightest. So actually, I came back home from the hospital, and it's my spouse, Raghu, who stayed in the hospital with my daughter, which is quite unheard of, with a lot of people saying the baby and the father are there, wife is back home. My mom and my mom-in-law were with me, and everybody was okay with it. A lot of people gave him a lot of kudos for it, and I was like, why are you getting such recognition for this? Because you're a parent as well, and physically it makes sense. But I'm just saying, it was, while I appreciate that he played the role, I'm just saying the society is so used to the woman playing it that he actually got applauded for it. And I'm like, had I stayed back, nobody would have said that. Right?
Absolutely, because everybody does it.
Exactly. And everybody does it. Everybody's expected to do it. So anyone who does it differently is applauded. And I'm like, no, women don't get applauded for any of this. So it's just a mindset and how we change. And I'm like, he was like, no, you go home, you rest, you need it. I will stay. I can physically manage that. And I was like, yeah, wonderful, lovely. But I'm just saying, even my mom was like, oh, you picked a good one. And I'm like, yeah, he picked a good one too. So I'm just saying it's how we we have to change the change that we're looking for as well, and call it out when we can. So yeah, and I think that partnership has helped good, because then we have a harmonious environment at home, and we both managed our careers, and there is always, two career paths can't always go at the same speed, but there's always a bit of give and take, which is fine. Which is totally fine. And as a family unit, whatever works for us together, we decide, and we focus on that at that point of time, and and accommodate the rest.
And just you and Raghu are what, school sweethearts or college sweethearts?
School, actually. We know each other from school. We were good friends in school. We weren't sweethearts in school. That story developed a little later. But we were very good friends. We were very good friends in school. We were in the same group. We did our carpools together, and we, our birthdays are very close to each other. So we did combined birthday parties since, I can't even remember now how long we've done our combined birthdays. It's because I'm the one who loves the birthdays, and he doesn't want to do anything with it. So, it works, because I'm so happy to declare it and then call everybody, and he's like, okay, whatever, you figure it. So it works. And it's been happening since school days. I think we've celebrated birthdays together for years now, since I can remember actually now. Yeah.
Well, it's, the reason why I ask is because, when you spend that much amount of time together, you get to know the person like the back of your hands. And the beautiful relationship that you've described, which is actually, something that most people look out for in their partners, and to have it. And as a woman facing such health issues and everything as well, and still trying to make it big in your career, takes, and I can vouch for that, takes every ounce of strength and sanity as well. And when you have somebody who's a partner like that, and I have people who describe their partners as partners in crime, but I'd like to rephrase that to you and Raghu being partners in progress for each other, and how you.
Absolutely. The other thing is, after we got married, Raghu wanted to go and do his MBA. So after we got married, he stopped working and he went off to Australia to work and to do his MBA. And I stayed and worked and supported our family. So that's also, not the norm usually that you take after studying. And literally then it was, I took a loan. We try and, make sure, because he went overseas to study, that we managed to, keep the income running to be able to pay back the loans. It was expensive. So yes, it's been a partnership through and through from the beginning to, like I said, to focus on what's working for who at what point and who needs that. And as a unit, we decide on the focus, who's getting it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So very quickly, Banali, I'll come to one more question that I have for you before we move forward to the rapid fire. And as someone who's broken barriers and achieved significant success, especially in a male-dominated industry, what advice would you give to young women aspiring to make their mark in a corporate setting or any field of their choice, perhaps?
I think the thumb rule is that keep at it. Don't feel rejected. Resilience is a quality that you must imbibe. Pick up your hand and speak for yourself. Be your biggest champion, because many a times I feel, and this is with experience that I talk, that we are not our best ambassadors. We don't market ourselves well enough. We are shying away and don't own our own successes, or don't even ask for the next. So I would say that put that on the back burner, be your own champion, ask for that promotion, ask for it, be resilient. If you don't get it, ask again, be confident. You don't have to know the next big job fully to apply for it. Apply when you think you can at least do do justice to it. Ask for your growth, and be perseverant about it. Don't give up. It's not going to happen. Nothing succeeds like success. As cliche as it sounds, that's the only way to stop the opposition. If there is an opposition, if there is something that people are not convinced about, let your work speak for yourself. Be passionate about what you want. Don't get on to chasing some trend. Be passionate and then committed about it, and then sooner or later it will happen. But be patient with it. Don't break your back trying to prove a point or trying to prove a trend. Be authentic to what you actually want, and not because it's the latest. That's the other advice. Be authentic to what you bring in. It's not the best thing to do, it's the best thing for you. It's the field that you want to excel in. It's something that you're passionate about. Because when you're authentic, it comes out. And you're not, if you're not, people can see through that also. It's a lot of waste of time. So focus your energies on something which you really believe in, and then keep at it. It will happen. Magic will happen. I'm pretty sure of it. So that's a little advice I could give.
Brilliant. Well, I, for one, I'm going to keep rewinding to this piece to watch it. Thank you, Banali. So that brings us to the rapid fire questions, and here's where we'll have more fun.
Okay.
So if you're ready, let's begin.
Sure, go ahead. Am I getting a handful?
Absolutely. Why not?
Just kidding. Yeah.
All right. What's your favorite way to unwind after a long day at work?
Oh, I love to dance. So my favorite me time is I put blaring music, not to everybody's pleasure, but that's my go-to. I put on music and I dance. I dance like no one's watching, or I dance like everyone's watching. I don't care either way. I love to dance. It's not choreographed or any typical dance, but I just love to move to music. So that way I burn my calories. I got my watch on. I got to break that up, and I listen to a different playlist most days, and that's my relaxing.
Brilliant. Well, speaking about playlists, what's your favorite kind of music, and who's the artist behind that?
So I like different artists, different genres, and depending on my mood. But my all-time growing up favorite has always been Elvis Presley. I've been a rock and roll fan since I can remember. My one bucket list was to go to Memphis, Tennessee, to Elvis's hometown. That hasn't happened yet, and so I grew up listening to him, and it sort of played to many moods, and I could relate to many of the things that have happened with Elvis at the backdrop.
Brilliant, fascinating. Well, I do hope you make it to Memphis and soon.
Thank you.
Well, you've given us a brilliant answer in the previous version of the questions, but I can't stop myself from asking, what's the best piece of advice that you'd like to give someone?
So I think the one thing that works for me, and I would urge people to sort of, is don't go with the flow.
Mm-hmm.
Don't go with the flow, not go with the flow. Don't go with the flow, because only dead fish go with the flow. Be curious, ask what you're doing, why you're doing it. Don't be in a assembly line and just doing your bit without understanding what the big picture is. Ask questions. If you don't understand, ask again. But be sure and convinced of what you're doing and what does success look like before you're just sort of getting burnt out in the rut and don't know what your North Star is. And very often that's what happens. You get burnt out, but you don't even know where you're going. You're lost, you're tired, but you don't know what was the outcome that you were hoping. So, be clear on not just following a trend, not going with the flow. Be sure of what is it that you want. What is your North Star? Don't compare yourself with anybody else. It's your journey. Enjoy the ride, enjoy the journey. Don't just follow blindly. Have fun. Have fun. Don't forget to have fun in all of it. And as well as ask. Be curious. Ask for options. Don't be afraid to ask. A curious mind is always appreciated, because don't assume everybody knows everything all the time. Or read up if you feel think, but definitely be curious and ask questions.
True, very true. And if you weren't in your current profession, what do you think you'd be doing?
Hopefully dancing. But no, if I think about it at this stage of my life, I'm sure these things change as we go in our life journey. At this stage of life, I think I would I can see myself in creating some sort of wellness space or being involved in that, because that's where my mind is right now: wellness and healthcare, and the right food and the right ambience and the right living. Let's put it like that. Good for mind, body, and soul. That's where I am. Maybe this is my journey, which is richer. This is what I can relate to now that I could spend time with. I'd like to go for a retreat. I'd like to maybe at some point have a retreat of my own. I mean, this is just wishful thinking. So since you asked, I think that's the space that I could relate myself into. Earlier, had you asked me earlier, it was always about building something, being creative about something, creating and bringing something, and showing a different aspect of things to create. That's what I get excited with.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, lastly, can you share a book or maybe a movie that has profound impact on the way you think?
There is a movie which impacted both me and my husband's journey and our togetherness. It was when we both went to see the movie When Harry Met Sally.
Okay.
It's an old classic, and we both went to see the movie, and it's literally after the movie we realized that movie was made for us. It was literally our story. We were both friends, and we had friend-zoned each other. We were dating different people, but in the end of the day, we found comfort in talking to each other rather than the partners that we were dating at that time. And it sort of rang home that you need to be friends first before you can have another layer given to that relationship. And I think it's that movie that dawned on us how it sort of came together in the end. That literally post that movie is when we both started looking at each other, perhaps with a different lens as well. And that did culminate into a relationship which we are both happy and grateful for even now. So I think that's a big impact.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, it's a captivating journey, Banali, that you've taken us through. Thank you very much for joining us today and doing this with us.
My pleasure, Kanchi. Thank you for reaching out. It's been my pleasure. I hope it inspires people or they find a laugh here or there.
Brilliant. Well, to all our viewers, this story serves as a powerful reminder of the boundaries and how we can break them, and the potential within each one of us to overcome obstacles to achieve greater goodness for all of us. Banali's unwavering determination and her commitment to success, even in the face of adversity, leaves a very close to our heart's mark, to understand and to know that this is a catalyst for change and empowerment. And if we apply such simple rules that Banali's laid out for us so beautifully in our lives, we can be empowered as we want to. Thank you once again for tuning in. Keep watching for more inspiring stories like Banali's as we continue to celebrate the resilience and strength of women around the world.